Welcome to the Escarpment. This is my model railway HO build channel and I'm your host Jason. So today's video, it's a bit of a layout update on the Escarpment. For those that have been following for a little while, I've sort of been doing bits and pieces outside of the Escarpment, plus I've also started some Freemo modules. Now today's not about that. You'll probably see bits and pieces in the background as I take you around and show you some of the progress to date on the actual Escarpment. Now, for those that are new to the channel, basically I'm in a custom built train shed. It's 5 meters wide by 8 meters long, spans over 3 levels. I've got 2 helixes, one you can see behind me and the other one's right here next to me. And basically this one takes me from level 1 up to level 2, and then the one behind from level 2 up to level 3 that you can see there. Being in Australia, this layout is loosely based on the Illawarra South Coast. On level 1 will be mostly Port Kembla steelworks. Level 2 will be all about the escarpment from Wollongong leading up to Sydney. There'll be some signature pieces along the way that sort of signify where it's from. And I guess right here beside me, which you can't see the full bridge just here, but this one here is the Stanwell Park Viaduct. Very popular on the South Coast, and it's very recognisable. Upper level, you can probably see a little bit up there is my coal loader. I mean, the layout itself, because I've got the Port Kembla steelworks and the loader up there, it's mainly all about coal trains. Now, I'm not a rivet counter, so, you know, there's certain bits that I've had to improvise, and, you know, I don't really get down to the nitty gritty of having my locos exactly what would have been running in the era. And I'm sort of looking at between the 1970s and mid 80s. I'll show you some of the terraforming that I've actually started. I've actually started doing the Stanwell Park Viaduct. I've got some stuff you can see behind me up here on top of the first helix, and I've got a bunch of terraforming happening on the other side of the train layout where the station, or the escarpment station, will be. Now, the escarpment station on the other side doesn't depict a real station on the escarpment itself, but it's very similar, and there's just been a few compromises along the way, just due to the fact that, you know, the space that you're working with, that type of thing. Basically, the station itself you'll find along the South Coast line. It's just the configuration of it, and I've just called it the escarpment station. So far with the terraforming, it's all been done with foam. Once I've got the foam in place, I do sort of some carving of it just to sort of get that shape where I'm sort of happy with it, and then I lay plaster cloth over the top of that. I guess with the plaster cloth, I've sort of changed my method over the years. Now I don't do any real dipping into water and putting it on, but I'll show you what I actually do there. It's just I find that is very messy, and for those that have been following me for a number of years, you'll sort of pick up that, you know, there's some OCD stuff going on. And I guess on another note too, I know beginning of this year, I don't know where this year's got to, but I did speak about bringing some people over to do some testing, beta testing of the track, just to see how it runs with a number of people running trains around it. I've still got that in the background. I haven't forgotten about that. It's just, yeah, time's gotten away from me this year. I will be looking at that, but I do need to have a bit of a spring clean. And what I mean spring clean, besides tidying up a little bit, but I guess there has been a bit of dust over the last, 6 to 8 months. So I need to do a deep clean with the vacuum and then prepare my tracks. I'm a little bit unorthodox with my track cleaning. I do have a video to show you how I do mine. What I'll do is I'll take the link of that video or the card of it, and I'll put it at the back of this video. So once this video ends, you'll be able to see it there. And if you're interested, you can click on and view that one as well. But for now, what I'm going to do, take you around, explain what I've done to date, what my techniques are. So we'll start over here at the Stanwell Park Viaduct. Now, what I've done here with the terraforming, I've started and sort of roughly got one side done. got the ground slope from the top to the bottom. Down the bottom there's a creek, and there'll be some rock structures down there. Mostly this side is just bush. Once I paint it, put the ground cover on, it'll cover all that area. You won't actually see the ground at all. And it's the same in between the arches and this side of the viaduct. Wasn't important to get it perfect because you won't actually see it at the end of the day. It'll be just covered full of bush, shrubs, things like that. And you can sort of see some of the trees. I don't know whether I'll be using these ones or whether I'll be touching them up. I think they need a bit of touch up anyway if I do use them in this area. But you can sort of see there, one half is pretty much done. And then I need to come back and do this side, you can see here. So everything you can see there has been built up with foam. Then, as I've mentioned, I come in and do a bit of a carving, a rough cut of how roughly I want it. And then I come through and put the plaster cloth on. Now, I'm only use basically one layer of plaster cloth. I don't find it necessary to put 2, 3 of them on. It's not structural. If I was using maybe cardboard underneath or chicken wire, that type of thing, I might put, you know, a couple of layers on, but because it's all got foam underneath, there's just no need for it. So as mentioned, started on the top of this first helix, started to put some hills next to the track. You can see here I've started with the plaster cloth. This was actually only started today actually. It's still a little bit damp. And then as I come around here, you can sort of see that's what I got up to. I've still got to come in and put another layer of plaster cloth along the bottom half of the hills. And so that's the top level. It's all been done with white foam, one layer of plaster cloth. As I said, I'll come in, finish it off around on the bottom of these hills around the track. Sort of come up to this area here because I don't know whether I'm going to put this particular tunnel where it is at the moment or bring it forward a bit. I'm still thinking I might bring it forward a bit, so that's why I haven't finished off this area, but this will be built up and over the tunnel with the terraforming work there. That's what it's going to roughly look like on top of this helix. And look, the same technique is going to be done up on this helix as well. So on the inside here, it'll be a similar landscape of what I'm doing there. There'll be bushes, there'll be trees. The other area that I've started with is over here. You can see the station platform up there and a bit of the station there. I've just sort of moved them out of the way and the platform sort of goes along here. On this side, it's a little bit different with this technique. If I sort of come up to this end, you'll see that I've actually underneath used this fly screen, and then I've just used some white glue and pasted down some paper, and then I've laid a single layer of plaster cloth. That side over here, you can see again, that's all built up with foam. Then I've got the single layer of plaster cloth, and then I've started dabbling with a smooth coat on it. As in, it's not quite like plaster, but it's a little bit thinner. So this is the stuff that I use here, this smooth coat. So what I'm going to do now is just show you my technique with the plaster cloth on how I apply it. So just with my technique with the plaster cloth, as I said, I've sort of changed it over the years. I used to come in with a bucket of water, dip it in and then put it on and smooth it out, that type of thing. I just found a lot of mess that way. And what I'll show you, and I'm just sort of doing this section down here. So I've got a few pieces cut here. I'll come in with my water bottle. I'll just give a bit of a spray in the area where I'm going to be putting the plaster cloth. I'll roughly get it in the space where I want it. Of course, I've wet it. I'll just make sure it dampens a little bit, and then I'll come back in again. spray and then work it in to the area, spreading that plaster throughout the cloth and making sure is good against the felt. For information, for those new, I'm a little bit unorthodox. I've got this 2mm felt that I use as an underlay. It does help with the soundproofing. It does make a big difference. And I basically used that across the whole plane of my underboards. Now, just with this, you can probably see that I don't actually use anything over the rails to protect it. Once I've done a particular section, I come back and I might have gathered a bit of dust on the track. And what I find is I just dampen the cloth. And what I find when I wipe it, while it looks clean, but when it dries, it gives it that little bit of whiteness over the rails, and it helps later on when I come in to do some weathering of the tracks. I know it sounds weird, but yeah, I just find that helps, just gives it that foundation to work from. I was fortunate enough in September to meet up at Bowning modelers that get together once a year. They hire out a hall, and you know, they just take their latest projects and model and chat and, you know, take the piss out of each other basically. And anyway, I was fortunate enough to be invited to this year's one, and this kit here I started to put together. I don't know whether I'll buy a couple more. It's really for my coach yard, you can see here, but there's quite a long area here where originally I was thinking of buying 2 more of those kits and putting them end to end to take up this whole track work here for the coach yard. Yeah, I'm in 2 minds with this kit, but what's that space? I'll see what I'll do there. But anyway, you can see that's what I got up to at Bowning. So as mentioned, you can sort of see this room needs to be cleaned up. I've got things all over the place, the Fremo modules, I've got bits and pieces all over the place. Down here too, the other 2 modules of the Fremo. Yeah, just needs a bit of a clean up and get it in order. And then I'm going to throw out a few dates for people if they want to come around and have a bit of a run on it. It's not going to be a formal running session as such. I haven't really sat down. That's further down the track. And you can sort of see 3 levels. This is one of the branch lines here. This will be at the loco yard. Up here, there's another terminal station. And then obviously with the coach yards on that side, there'll be some sheds and a whole bunch of stuff. So what's that space? There'll be a lot more terraforming happening. Obviously I've got this side of the escarpment that I need to do. Fill in over here. There'll be mountains here. Lots of work still ahead in the scenic side, but that'll keep me busy for many, many years, which would be great. I've got some of my monitoring systems here. I've got cameras spread around the layout, so if you're operating and sitting here, you can keep an eye on most things. All the control panels have been done and they're still working great, so that's a bonus. Yeah, that was a lot of work. I think I've got 8 of those around the layout. Another one down there. But anyway, that's basically the layout update. Hopefully that sort of covers, I guess, the new subscribers and hopefully satisfies the ones that have been around for a while watching me. Anyway, we'll head back to the chair. So that was the update. I guess for November, I'll try to get another video out prior to Christmas for a December update. And hopefully there's a little bit more done. I think what I'm going to do is I guess there's 2 things happening at the moment. I've got the escarpment here with the terraforming. I've still got my Fremo modules. I will sort of flip between the 2 over the next 3 to 6 months, just due to the fact that, you know, just to break things up. You can see here, I mean, the layout's quite big. There's a lot of work to be done, not just with the terraforming, but also scratch building a whole bunch of sheds and big buildings, industrial buildings. I guess you would have also seen that little shed, the coach shed up there. I'm sort of deciding whether do I design my own and string them together to make them, you know, there's quite a bit of space up there, over 1.5 meters to cover the coaches. So what's that space? I'm still deciding, or whether or not do I just buy another couple of those kits that I've got up there and put them back to back. Anyway, what's that space? Still deciding on that one. Obviously with the terraforming, I still need to finish off the other half of the viaduct here. I've also got, you know, I've got the tunnels over there I need to do and sort of do the terraforming all around that. It's also the other side of the layout with the escarpment on level 2 that I need to take it up and start doing the terraforming. Look, there's lots of terraforming. But anyway, I'm probably rambling on now. So what I'm going to do is finish up this video, continue with the terraforming, and I'll catch you on the next video. Keep modeling. Bye for now.